the agenda.
All right.
Okay. I see we are recording.
Yes. You see a little red light?
See the message.
Oh, okay. I see a little red light up in the corner.
Okay. I get a message saying that this is being recorded. All right. So welcome everyone to the December meeting of the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And I'm Eric Goodman, acting chair of the Pedestrian Committee. And we'll go around and do introductions. I have like an introductory question for folks to kind of start with, and I'll call folks out. But I'd like you to introduce yourself, kind of note your civic association that you're associated with, and also share your impressions and experiences with dealing with snow and ice as a pedestrian in Arlington. But it could be otherwise. It could be other places where you've seen better practices. So I'm just going to go across on my screen and start with David Early.
Great. David Early. I live in the Donaldson Run Civic Association area. And, generally, I'd have to say very positive about the snow removal. But as a pedestrian, I think that's a really interesting focus area on this. And one example I'd like to share is just at the end of my street here. I live in Upton Street, a block off of Langston Boulevard, and there's a dentist at the corner. Their lot is cleared by a contractor in a snow event. And the contractor tends to put the snow right into the sidewalk, right on Langston Boulevard, which, as you said, Eric, lasts forever, right? It gets frozen. And I'm trying to encourage them to dump it onto the turf area and not on the sidewalk. I think that would save a lot of problems.
All right, thank you. And Don Bennett.
Okay, I'm in Barcroft, and we have a dog that has to be walked twice a day, regardless of snow or rain or whatever. And we do close to a mile each time with a different route, morning and afternoon. And there's one, generally our neighbors, and it's mostly single family homes. Generally the neighbors do, I think, a pretty good job clearing the snow within a reasonable amount of time. Like last year's snows, I'm sure most of it was gone within 3 or 4 hours or so. But there is a section of townhomes that are on what I call the access road to Arlington Boulevard. And this is where it intersects with South Pershing. And they have a shade problem. I know that the sun doesn't really get there very much, but it's like they don't shovel at all, or go, it'll go a week and still be very dangerous to walk there. So, and that's part of our morning route. But that one really stands out.
Thank you. And Eric Malpelli.
Hi, Eric Malpelli, PAC member, Old Dominion Civic Association. I agree on the snow removal on sidewalks. All things considered is not, I guess, as horrible as one might expect. Seems to really vary based on, commercial contracts or not. Like just before the quote unquote storm last week, some places were heavily salted as if there was going to be a real storm. And then other places, aren't, particularly against residential. So, yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you. And Ambar. And I see John dropped off, but Ambar, hopefully we'll get John back on.
Hey, I'm Amber, Courthouse, Clarendon area. I think that even in some of our most heavily pedestrian areas, which have a lot of traffic in sort of snow and ice at times, there's usually like a layer of ice somewhere, which makes it pretty challenging. I think some I would say like big businesses are sometimes the best at sort of like being able to clear it out. Some are not, but there's a few that are sometimes fairly consistent. And then I would say the biggest challenge is really the corners of roads and and the sidewalks. I think just they make some, even like you kind of have to stay within a block for it to be safe. Otherwise, like crossing over into another block is dangerous. So I think that's challenging. I think the other one is, Arlington. I think there's some trails which get cleared consistently. Like I think Custis is one of them. But then I think there's got a lot of entrances to the trails. And so getting onto the trails over, like last year, over the big pile of ice was pretty dangerous and actually a little bit scary. So, I've got good shoes, but still slipped a few times.
Thank you. Great points. I see John Armstrong has made it back on here.
Hey, sorry about that. I'm just leaving the office, so I had some connectivity issues. I'm John Armstrong. I live in Lime Village. I'm a member of the committee. And David, you cut out before. What was your what's the opening question?
So I can tell you the opening is has to do with your impressions of snow and ice, dealing with that in Arlington or other places. Actually, if you have examples of where things have been done better, that would be helpful as well. But we're looking in that direction.
Yeah, I think I'm generally in the frustrated camp when it comes to snow removal in Arlington. I don't think there's really any enforcement. So when you get stretches of sidewalks, especially in commercial areas that aren't shoveled, even when it's reported, I don't think anything's done. So people just don't do it, or certain businesses won't, or certain apartment buildings won't. And I think I heard mentioned earlier, when others are cleaning their lots and then dump the snow so it blocks a crosswalk or blocks a curb ramp, very frustrating. Sort of defeats the purpose when things like that are blocked. And so generally what I see with snow removal, that you have issues here and there, and those issues may block an entire sidewalk or an entire curb ramp, which makes it really difficult, if not impossible, for certain segments of society to get around after it snowed. And they just have to wait. And unfortunately, when those piles are created, they tend to remain for a long time. And then they turn to ice, and they're really difficult to remove. So I'd love to see Arlington County do a better job of enforcing, or even getting out there in business districts and cleaning out those curb ramps and sidewalks or crosswalks that are blocked due to snow removal. My 2 cents. Thanks.
I'd like to,
Go
could
ahead.
I just add one more thing
Sure.
on this subject? Something someone said reminded me. Yeah, the big problem is where the snowplows come at the intersections. They block the crosswalks, and it's icy, and it's really, we have to go a long way out of the way to just cross streets that should be easy. So that's probably our biggest problem.
Thank you. David Patton.
Yeah, hi, I'm David Patton. I work for the county as a transportation planner. And my experience with snow has been that this comes up every year. And I don't know what it's going to take to break the logjam. One of the issues that just puzzles me no end is that the state VDOT, the state highway agency, is responsible for Langston Boulevard and certain other roads in the county, Glebe Road, for example, and they do a terrible job with sidewalks. They don't pay any attention to sidewalks at all. And their drivers under contract are very likely to leave big mounds at the curb ramps at the corners. And as Umbar said, it restricts people to stay in a certain block. We used to have a member of the committee who was a woman with a disability who lived in Ballston, and she couldn't get off her island. She was used a wheelchair, and in a snowstorm, she was confined to the four corners of her block. And that's a terrible state of affairs. And I don't know what it's going to take to raise these concerns to the level where it demands of policy being addressed by policy or more money or some kind of agreements or some kind of enforcement. But this is year after year after year, we're not making headway, is my experience.
Thank you. All right, I guess I'll introduce myself. So again, Eric Goodman, and I live in the Bluemont Civic area. And I guess I would say it's kind of similar things that people have said. Mostly the sidewalks that I've seen have been taken care of, especially in the business areas. There are sometimes there folks' homes that you know, a little bit uneven, but for the most part, I think able to move. It really is along the edges that seem to be the worst places. And sometimes even bridges, the overpasses as well. That they tend to what happens is the snow comes down on like I'm thinking of overpasses over 66. Snow comes down, people start walking there, they compress all the snow into like really uneven ice, and then it stays for a long time. And I don't know that there's anybody that actually comes out and takes care of those areas. So they become problems. And then I also noticed in Ballston area, I think I must have dinged David probably 5 times last year that there was a curb cut. One of the curb cuts actually, I think it's at like Pollard Street. I'm not sure, but one of the curb cuts that is an old curb cut, so it comes in at a 45-degree angle. And that was blocked, and I tried digging it out, but it was really blocked with about almost 4 feet of snow. So it took a long time for it to melt down. But as far as the curb goes, yeah, if somebody would be trapped in the block, they would actually have to go to the other end of the block, I guess, to be able to get to an accessible curb cut. So some of the newer curb cuts, at least they have two areas, you know, 90 degrees from each other. But if one of them is blocked, usually the other one is not. But where we have the older curb cuts, and those are the ones where sometimes once they're blocked, they may be blocked for a long time. So anyway, on our agenda, we have some more discussion on this. So I'm thinking we can kind of talk a little bit about this more later, and maybe try and think about, you know, we sort of talked about where we've had issues, but maybe even talk about, are there any places where folks have seen best practices? Because that's one of the things that the county manager has sort of asked us to give some focus on. So maybe that's something that we can actually think about, you know, over the next month. And when we come back, maybe we all do a little bit of research, we might be able to come up with some best practices. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the agenda. I just wanted to bring this out because we've just started seeing a little bit of snow, and already maybe a little bit earlier than usual, so could end up being a snowy winter. Don't really know where it's going to go, but just some thought on that. So let's move on. I guess there are no. I don't see anybody else here for who would want to speak from the public. So we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, and that is opportunities for engagement. So going back 2 meetings ago, when we were talking with Wei, who is now, I guess she was the head of transportation. Now she is the deputy for DES. Is that right? Is that her
Yes.
current position? Okay.
Yeah, DOT is a division of the Department of Environmental Services. So she's been promoted to I think, a deputy director of Department of Environmental Services, which is all of DOT plus solid waste plus the water treatment control.
Watershed, yeah.
Yes, etc.
Yeah.
So is she in a permanent position or is she acting at the
No,
current
that's a
time?
permanent appointment.
It is permanent appointment.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, when we talked, at least the feedback that I seem to remember is that she does want our opinions, but she pretty much said if for us to give them, we would need to involve ourselves in the public engagement process. So I believe in our last meeting we talked about trying to get volunteers for public engagement coverage. So I found a few things. I'm going to throw them up on here. Let's see if I can share and see if we can get. Obviously, we don't have everybody here. We only have a few folks from our committee here, but maybe we can get some coverage on some of these items. So I'm gonna bring them up here. Give me a second to share. And let's make certain. I think that's it. Here it is.
Eric?
Can you see what I have up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it, would you like me to make it a little larger?
That would be good.
Okay. Give me one sec here.
Eric, can I mention something I just thought of?
Sure.
Usually Pam is here to take notes and to make minutes, but she's not here tonight.
Right.
We're already 20 minutes in. I could try to take some notes, but I'm certainly not as good as she is.
Okay. Well, if you could take a few notes, that would be appreciated. I think
Okay.
I'm taking a few notes myself. I think maybe I can combine that and then I can probably rewatch this afterwards and pull something together that
Okay.
maybe not as good as her, but I think between.
I mean, does Microsoft Teams have the ability to transcribe it for us?
It does, but it's terrible, if you ask me. I usually download the transcription after our meetings and send them to Pam, and they're loaded with errors and things they miss. It's not worth nothing, but it's not very good.
Okay. Well, as long as
And that's turned on, so I will get a transcript at the end of the meeting. But
Okay.
but it's really pretty bare bones and almost comedic sometimes, the mistakes it makes.
Well, between you, I'm jotting a few things down on an
Yeah.
open Word document, and if you want to
I'll do
do
the
the
same.
same,
Yeah.
then we can combine our efforts and hopefully we'll cover what we already got who is in the meeting here.
Okay, very
and
good.
and that we talked about snow, but that's about as far as I've gotten so far. But let me at least bring this up, and I do have some notes here that relate to another agenda item, but I wanted to bring up what is out there now. I guess the first question I'd like to ask, as we go down through this, is there anybody who would like to? I did send something out to folks, I believe, but is there anybody who would like to take on the Waverly Ridge SPRC? And I think that's close to Virginia Square, but I'm not sure.
It's on Cherry Hill Road.
Oh, okay, Cherry Hill Road. Oh, okay, that's up.
Yeah, I'm representing the
Okay.
part PRC on that one, and I attended the walkthrough or site review this week. It's an exciting, long overdue redevelopment of that parcel.
So it's adjacent, almost adjacent to Langston, just like one block over on what
It's
used
one
to
block,
be.
right? That's correct.
Used to
It's
be
one-
on Old Lee Highway. Now
Correct.
it's called Cherry Hill Road. Okay.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
And it's going to be 47 townhouses.
Okay.
Interior, a few interior streets and alleys. Good, there's 10,000 square foot of open space on the corner of Taylor and Cherry Hill. there'll be a new streetscape on Cherry Hill, new streetscape and complete curbs on Taylor, which do not exist today, and new crossing treatments as well. So I'd be happy to represent, the interests of pedestrian as well on that, if it's okay.
That sounds like a win-win.
Okay, if you want to take that one on as well, I guess I can put you down, designate you as a primary, and then I can kind of be a backup on that.
Great. Yeah.
So
Super. Yep.
all right.
There's a virtual walkthrough on their project website as well. It's pretty well documented and planned. And this is a site which had an approved site plan in 2020. So there's been a lot of process on this site already.
Okay.
I expect this one will go fairly well through the process.
Yeah, I know the other one, Lecky Gardens, which probably is only a few blocks from this. There have been some concerns about, I guess, going from like 50 apartments to like 200 apartments.
200 plus.
Yeah. So I know some, I guess, some concerns about that. I was in another meeting yesterday with 4 civic associations that were concerned about the what is it? The Walgreens. I guess it used to be an Eckert's, and then it was a Walgreens, and there were like 4 civic associations that were concerned about it. I think, John Armstrong, are you on that one? The Walgreens site one?
I think I am. Did I miss a meeting?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't directly an SPRC meeting, but somehow I got invited, maybe because also on the SPRC. I think your name may have been on it, but I'm not sure. But it was mainly the 4 civic associations were talking with Dan Neighbor about. Mainly, they were talking about concerns with all those intersections in that area, and the thought that when they have almost 300 new apartments, that the area, which is already, they feel, a lot of the crossings are very unsafe, and they kind of felt that something needs to be done. So I believe there's a study that's going to be done, but there's a thought, or at least these civic associations would like action to happen before they build this the new building. So that was pretty much what the discussion was. I'm sort of getting off topic here, but anyway, just wanted to mention that.
The next Walgreens SPRC is a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
That's the second SPRC meeting for that site is a week from tomorrow.
Okay. David, if somebody does have their hand up, I can't see it just because
I'll be on the lookout. Let me see.
Okay.
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. And we're such a small group right now of people. I'm not really, as long as we don't really interrupt each other very much, I don't really care. we can just talk among ourselves and just yeah, exactly. Anyway, the next thing.
Eric, just sorry, since you said no hands, then I'll just interject. So David, for Waverly Ridge, since the next SPRC is in Jan, I'll probably send you some thoughts that I have, some concerns around pedestrian aspects and the sort of site plan. I can email them to you at some point before the Jan meeting.
Great.
Thank you, Anbar. Next one I have here is interesting one. It's Columbia Pike Bike Boulevards. David, I don't know how much you know about this project. I think it's going from sort of midpoint design into final design, and there's going to be sometime in this winter there are going to be public comments on that. And one of the things about this project is they're looking at lowering speeds below 25 miles an hour along the bike boulevards. Or I believe that's part of the plan. And then also some improvements, I guess, at crossings to sort of limit, not to limit cars, but maybe to make it easier for pedestrians and bicyclists to transition through these areas. And I know part of one of the bike boulevards is also one of the projects for the shared streets as well. So it's a place where there aren't sidewalks, and there's just no space for sidewalks there. So, is there anybody who would like to who would like to be our designee for that project, the Columbia Pike Bike Boulevards?
Yeah,
Yeah,
happy to be. Oh, sorry, was there
Okay.
someone else?
I hear two voices. I don't know
Yeah,
who's
well,
saying-
I said I would, but I can defer.
Well, I can make, we can certainly have a primary and secondary. So I'll put Ambar, and Don, I'll put you a second. Is that okay?
Sure, sure.
Okay.
And Don and everyone, of course, are happy to, collect feedback from everyone.
Okay.
But I
And
imagine if
then-
it's the final design, then, I know they've had a couple of public comments already that I'm curious to see how much they are looking for at this point, if it's final.
That's true. It may be limited, but it is listed for future public engagement. It was in the engage. Doesn't say a lot of specifics, but at least on the project website, it said that there will be additional public engagement. So, and then I put this down as 3 parks, and I don't have the specifics on this. There are. If you give me a second here, I can go to the.
Are they the 3
engage.
parks in Virginia Square area?
I
Like,
think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're part of, like, I think one of them is like part of an art space or something like that. I've seen those. Yeah, don't know too much about them either, apart from that they are looking for feedback.
Okay. Yeah, and they're looking for it by 12/21. Does anybody want to take on looking at that and making comments for the pedestrian committee? No takers. Okay. Well, I guess if we don't have one, I may volunteer for that one. But I would encourage folks to go to that and individually put in comments as well. All right, and then the last thing is the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission has an updated work plan for 2026, 2027. I don't know if there's anything specific to pedestrians, but it would be good. I think this might be something that the pedestrian committee could weigh in on. Does anybody want to provide comments for the pedestrian advisory committee? All right.
Eric,
well,
is that a public event that is being rolled out? Do you know? Or
I think it's an open it's to comment on this. This is their work plan for the next 2 years. It's my understanding. We could always, I don't know, if you want to bring up the website for it.
I can try that.
I can stop sharing here for the moment.
MVTC work plan areas, okay.
Yeah, I'm doing the same search.
I think
Do you
it's right
focus-
on Engage Arlington. Is that where I saw it? I'm trying to remember where it came up.
I have something from Alexandria Now. I have something from Facebook, which I can't read.
I've found something on their website
Oh, good.
which talks about, yeah, I mean, I just sort of Googled like NVTC, and they've got a public comment for their 2026-2027 work plan that closes on December 19th.
So
That's right. That's the one.
Yeah, I can send the link in this chat here.
that'd be good.
But it's interesting because yeah, I hadn't. It seems like I think Eric, you found it, but I think maybe it wasn't known to many people. Let me know if that's the one.
It does look like it has a link to the draft yearly work plan. It's only 20 pages.
Anybody want to take that on? All right, I'll also put it out to other members that didn't show that weren't able to make it today, and see if anybody else does. Still have like a week before that closes. So, okay. Well, anyway, I think that was a part of the agenda that I wanted to at least start, looking at getting volunteers. So appreciate all who will be volunteering for these items. And I guess let's move on. We're actually we're right on time, believe it or not. Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to do is maybe just while we're here is just talk about since we have several liaisons and other people who are on other committees and commissions, to maybe just give a brief update, if that sounds okay, about what your committees or commissions are working on. And so, I hate to put people on the spot, but maybe if we could, go over that, starting with maybe RNAC.
Okay. Yeah, do I need to explain what RNAC or the neighborhood, the Arlington Neighborhood Committee is? Do I need to explain what they are? Or is everyone fairly familiar?
I think we are. They've changed from what they were before. It was what was the name of the previous name?
It was something to do with the conservation. It was just as
yes, neighborhood conservation. That's
yeah.
right.
Now
That's
it's the Arlington Neighborhoods Program, I believe. And so, and of course, RNAC is the advisory committee to that program. I can tell you that there are 21 active projects, and of those, 15 really directly impact pedestrian safety. 14 involve sidewalks, mostly around intersections, and one is streetlights. The only other type of project that RNAC or ANP typically does is park projects, which may or may not influence or have a pedestrian aspect. But these projects, they take a while to get done. But one thing about our programs is they all come out of the civic associations. To get a project done, it has to be nominated, it has to be part of a neighborhood plan that's been approved, and also has to be nominated by the civic association. So basically, almost every civic association in the county is represented in RNAC.
Can I ask, and I don't recall this, does each civic association have like one opportunity at a time, to kind of put up their number one item?
Yes, that's right. These are all priority projects, and you only get one priority project at a time. We are making an exception to that for what we're calling equity projects. And that is projects that are in an area of both low income and, a certain percentage of people of color. And so you can have an equity project as well as a project that doesn't meet that standard. But that's the only exception.
So one other question I'd like to ask, since I'm on the Neighborhood Complete Streets Commission, which also works with sidewalks and improvements, but it's very specific to neighborhoods. They can't do arterials and other things like that. Does RNAC also, I guess it covers all of Arlington, so it would even cover commercial areas as well to some extent?
If they're covered by a civic association, yes.
Okay. So sometimes there might even be a sidewalk improvement or in kind of a commercial area
Yeah,
within a civic association region, I guess, or area.
you haven't heard discussion of that. I've only been on the committee 3 years.
Okay.
But I'm not familiar with one, but I think it could be. Incidentally, all these projects are on the AMP page or web page, so you can get details about any of them.
Can you, do you have a link to that page that you could add to the discussion here?
I
Yeah,
can
I'm not
find
very
it.
good at this.
I will
Okay.
look for it.
Okay, David, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
All right, and before we move on, I just wonder, is there any of projects, is there anything that would be of particular interest that you might want to share?
I think one potentially significant thing, we've had several projects recently, a couple in particular, that got a long way through the planning process, got approved by the committee and all, and failed the final petition, which is the petition that has to get approved by the homeowners, affected by the new sidewalk. And it's a voting thing, and the voting, the problem seemed to be that it was proportionate to the amount of land or the amount of frontage that you had. So if you had 150 feet of frontage and your next door neighbor only had 50, then you had 3 votes.
No, interesting.
Compared to that neighbor. That has changed now. So we've gone to a simple majority, and there's already been at least one program that's been approved that had previously not made it because of this change.
So it's actually harder now to get things through with the simple majority?
I'd say it's easier.
Oh, easier. Okay,
Easier,
great.
yeah. It was really done to try to make things a little easier. Some of these projects, are very safety related. They're around schools. We have a street in Barcroft that has no sidewalks on either side, and the neighbors don't want to change it because it's a narrow street and cars can't go very fast because people park on both sides. And kids walk up the middle.
I know, again, on the sort of parallel commission that I'm on, the Complete Streets, one of the things about, I guess, road narrowing or trying to put in sidewalks or something, it gets limited because there needs to be a minimum width that the fire department has been asking for. So that sometimes doesn't make it possible for getting a sidewalk.
Right. Yeah, no.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that good information. I'm going to go to David Early, if you could talk a little bit about from the parks standpoint.
Sure. Well, thank you. First, Tom, thank you for highlighting the neighborhoods program. That was really cool. I am aware of a neighborhood project that's being undertaken at the Waverly Hills Park, not far from here, which is through the program, and it's adding a structure, a sun picnic structure there in the park, and it's through the RNAC program or the neighborhoods program. The Parks Commission met last night, and the big topic there was the River House development proposal, which is in its final stages and which will be going to the county board this weekend. And in particular, the issue that the Parks Commission was discussing was the impact on Virginia Highlands Park over the long term. The River House development is going to add several thousand residences, and the park already is pretty stressed, and it's in a what they call a hotspot zone for access to recreational facilities. So yeah, that was the major topic yesterday, really for almost our entire meeting. The other thing that we've done recently is approve our plan for 2026, which really the highlight, I think, will be the update to the public spaces master plan, which occurs every 5 years. And in particular, this year, the focus is on updating the level of service metrics and the land acquisition policies. So those are two major efforts that are underway. Thank you for highlighting the 3 parks projects in Virginia Square earlier. Another master plan that's underway is the Drew Park, close to the Drew School. And that actually, well, I went to the open house about a month ago, and that had some pedestrian issues around that site. So as that moves forward through the master plan, we should put that on the radar screen for further engagement with this team.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's happy to answer any questions, or if anybody has any suggestions for us to focus on from a pedestrian point of view, happy to do that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I tried to get a little bit of what you had down, but I will probably review things later. All right, let's see. What other things are folks on here that represented? Well, Ambar, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about, you're on the Vision Zero update. Maybe you can tell us where we are with that right now.
Yeah, so back in September, Eric, back when you were in the committee, you helped facilitate feedback from this group. I think it was either September or August. The only meeting we've had since was in early October, where we reviewed that feedback, and the group sort of discussed it. And I think that generally, like, you know, the group is fairly diverse in the sort of you know, groups that are involved as with representatives. So everyone was generally in alignment with the sort of feedback that we provided. I sort of vocalized that. Since then, you know, Vision Zero's had a number of programs. They had, you know, some safety programs as with the time zone, with the time changes, with it getting darker. They did a number of items on some trails, like Halloween events and so on. Otherwise, you know, they're working towards their main action plan update. So I expect our next meeting in January, we'll learn more about where we are with that. I think like areas that they are continuing to work on are, you know, like various analysis around pilot programs and so on. There's, I think it's a little bit of a lull right now in terms of any active public engagement for any of their items. But I think if we want to look at areas where we could proactively engage, I think there's maybe one would be if there's been a recent, for example, quick build effort that they've been involved in your area, or you've experienced positive outcomes from it. So for example, let's say like a curb extension and you cross the road there, something like that, and it's been helpful. I think we can, reach out to them and just provide that feedback to say that it's been helpful. I do remember that being something they said that, I think someone said that would be helpful. And then another area would be if there are hotspots where Vision Zero could help. I think they have that online form where you can submit ideas. I think, I imagine many of us have already submitted at least one over the year. So I would say, we should continue to do that.
So when you say online form, is that pretty much the report a problem or the service request item?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I think that, and then I think just providing input on, I think probably the bigger one is I feel like I'm assuming, maybe making assumptions here. I'm assuming we're probably fairly proactive in using that online form, or I've provided some feedback in some way at some point. So I think probably the first idea of like providing feedback on quick build, because I don't think there isn't really that active avenue for it apart from their pilot studies, but after the pilots are done. So anyway, I think that can be useful and will help probably just guide them in where they can focus, or the types of things they can focus, because I think their toolkit is increasing over time.
Thank you. Appreciate that information. So you're also from your meeting in January, there may be some feedback on or homework or something after that potentially, right?
Yes, exactly. It's been, I think the meeting will be end of January, so I expect in February I can come back to the group with the homework.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. And just you will be, I think you might have mentioned, you'll be meeting for or taking the Arlington's Transportation Future meeting tomorrow for Pam Van Hine.
Yes, that's right. So I
Okay.
can I can follow up on that as well.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm planning hopefully to listen in, but I guess you'll be the active participant. You may want to early on in the meeting, I guess during interjections, note that you're filling in for Pam. So, and by the
Mark,
way,
did you see the Washington Post article on Vision Zero over the weekend? I think it was this recent weekend. There's a national look at the effectiveness of Vision Zero in a lot of cities. And I think Arlington compares very, very well compared to that. But if you haven't read it, I definitely would recommend it. Does that ring a bell? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes.
I did not see that. I'll have to go back and look at the post.
Yeah. It was quite thorough.
That's good. Yeah, I know that in the district, after they announced that they were doing their Vision Zero program, they actually had rises in pedestrian crashes and bicycle crashes. I don't think it was specifically due to what improvements they made, and maybe over the long run that's going to actually level out. But at least in the short run, maybe during the years and with the pandemic and other things, that may have created some problems where there were more issues.
Yeah, the data that the article highlighted showed that that's a problem that many cities are facing, and that being able to communicate in a way that balances the discussion. There's getting a lot of pushback from vehicle drivers, and the cities are pulling back in some places. So I think Arlington's doing a fantastic job. I think it's making a big difference. But we may be an outlier in that regard.
Appreciate it. I will look for that article. Thank you. All right, let's see what other things I put on here. So let's see. We were hoping to have Catalina here, maybe to talk about Commission on Aging, but I think she's going to be our representative for, I guess, the Transportation Committee of the Commission on Aging. So hopefully we'll see her at a future meeting, or somebody else from the Commission on Aging. So I guess I can talk about a couple things since I've been, I guess, gone to a few meetings. I did go to on Monday I went to the pedestrian. I went to the Neighborhood Complete Streets Commission meeting, and there were a few things that came up during that. Let's see here. What was what came up was a review of our project list. So I think as long as now, it's probably been almost 10 years ago. Projects were, there was a call for neighborhoods and folks to send projects, and so we got a list of several hundred projects, and we've been continuously sort of going through trying to find projects that we can build. So the first year, I think, after the projects came in, they went through a process to prioritize and evaluate them. So that process was done, and they did speed studies to see what speed situations they had, and they ended up sort of narrowing it down to a few projects and did basically some pilot projects. They've now, I guess, completed maybe a dozen or more projects overall, and they're looking for new projects this year. So they starting with the list that they currently have, which is probably, again, like 100 projects. They're going to narrow it down to about 10 projects, and then kind of look at those and try and whittle them down to a few viable projects that they can do over the coming period. So that's what they were talking about, and that project list went out, and Michelle Stafford, who is the staff person for that, is going to come back in the next meeting with a short list to kind of evaluate among the commission, and then also go out and do evaluations on how viable the projects are, and also cost them, and see what funding will be needed from the available funds they have. They also had some discussion about Arlington's transportation future, because that group is, or that commission is also one of the stakeholders in that. So kind of went over some of just folks' feedback on that. It was after the submission closed, but they still had some discussion about that. And then the third part of the meeting was on shared streets. There was, I don't know if folks are familiar with shared streets. Does everybody know what shared streets are?
I've seen a few in around Boston. There's a couple.
There's like they've done a pilot of 3 locations. I'm trying to remember where. I think one of them's on Wakefield. I can't remember where the other 2 are right offhand. I think that's the one that's not far from Boston. It's like between near what is it? Trying to think of the cross street that it's, but it's a few blocks from the Boston Mall, essentially, and it isn't wide enough to have sidewalks, so they have essentially designated it as a shared street, and put some treatments in for that. They have, it's been about a year since that was implemented, and the feedback that we got is that things haven't changed significantly. There's been slight changes, I think, on the streets that had more volume. Of the 3 streets that they had, the streets that had more volume, there was a slight reduction in traffic volume. So they also, I think, did a poll of people. They had surveyed folks, and there were mixed reviews on whether things have improved. So I don't think there are any conclusions at this point, but they are going through the process of, at least for these pilots, getting both metric feedback and then feedback from participants or people through the survey process. So that was the neighborhood complete streets. I'm also liaison to the Bicycle Advisory Committee, and the Bicycle Advisory Committee met informally. They did not have an official meeting. They had an unofficial meeting at the Bronson Beer Hall, and really was an opportunity to get the last feedback for the Arlington's transportation future. It was a meeting of like a half a dozen folks, and really went over the maps again, went over the policies, and went over the curb space discussion. And I think one of the things that came from that, when they talked about curbs, they were talking about different curb space categories, and like more urban areas versus, like, I guess they did it based on high density, low density. But the way that the questions that were being asked about those did not always sort of jive with the areas. So you may, some places you might have high density, and then it may go to low density, so the questions that were asked were not very easy to answer, and there was a thought that maybe they need to be recategorized. So those are my at least feedback. Is there any other liaisons that I've missed that are here that want to give a little report on what on either committee or commission that they're on as a liaison? All right. Hearing none, let's move on to the next topic. And we're just about on time again, so let's talk a little bit more about snow clearing practices. Maybe spend about 10-15 minutes talking. So we kind of all talked about problems that we've seen, and a lot of, I guess, what people have noted, that in the process of clearing snow from the roads or from some parts of the trails, they create barriers, just like we were saying, at the edges of the trails. So the trails themselves are okay, but getting on and off of the trails is where there's a problem. And then also curb cuts and entries through islands or getting into curb cuts. Those are the ones that are typically blocked. So I guess I want to throw out there, has anybody have any experience or lived in other places where they've seen where this is not a problem? And is it a practice that needs to be improved? Is it a priority that needs to happen? I know the situation that we had last year was somewhat unique, because typically in Arlington, after snows, within 24 hours or 36 hours, a lot of the snow melts. Not always the case, but but it happens often enough that they don't have to go through sort of extraordinary measures for clearing. So want to get folks' feedback.
Well, I've lived in Arlington just about my entire life, so I can't speak to anybody else, whether they've done anywhere else. I disqualify myself, but when I do see neighborhoods here that look like they've really worked together, had a project to support. Not everybody can do the same amount of work out in the snow. Not everybody is equipped for it physically and otherwise. But when you have neighborhoods that have a plan or maybe some leadership in place to say, hey, we are going to clear this, the sidewalks together, I think that works really, really well. I don't know if there's an example within the county that does it particularly well, but that kind of grassroots approach, I think, is something worth encouraging.
Maybe through civic associations.
Exactly. And general communication, help your neighbor type of stuff.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
Yeah, I know I have seen some places in the UK, the equivalent of the sort of local government, like the county government, they do clear the sidewalks themselves. They've got these little like small mini kind of brush plow things. I'm not really sure what to call them, but I think I've seen them in some
Like snow
some places.
blowers?
Yeah, but it's like a car wash kind of
Like a sweeper.
yeah, sweeper,
Nice.
exactly.
Oh,
And
okay.
so that allows for, the kind of unevenness of the sidewalks to be done without kind of like the flat plows, which really only work on roads. So yeah, that is something that is, at least at some point in time, many years ago, I did notice that, whether it's, standard practice or something like that. But and then the other thing that I did notice that is over there is they would have these boxes, kind of like how maybe not every street corner, but periodically around neighborhoods, these boxes with salt and grit and sand and so on. So people could use it to in situations where there's kind of this area where it's not, let's say, in front of someone's, it's not really anyone's land, so to speak. Like it's not in front of your house or in front of your business, but it's in between. You could use it for that, those areas. So that was those were two, I guess, amenities that I've noticed.
Eric, I see John Armstrong's hand.
Okay, John.
But John, you're muted.
Thanks, David. Yeah, I'd just like to chime in. I think, as I brought up earlier, my experience in recent years is, the neighbors do a pretty good job, and those who can't, we help out, and it's easier to sort of help out when you live close by and there's not a huge amount of snow. But I think maybe we need to write a letter to the county manager or something like that, David, sort of asking for some sort of recognizing and then enforcing, or trying to get ahead of, I guess, what we know is going to happen. And we talked about it here tonight. The plows come through and they inevitably block curb ramps, leading to crosswalks, especially more like in the urban areas. Like I live near Clarendon, and it's kind of ridiculous when you've got a commercial area with a freshly plowed sidewalk. Looks great, but then there's a moat, and between the plows in the street plow the snow up to the curb, and the commercial areas plow to the edge of the curb cut, so the curb cut gets blocked with snow, and those piles get huge, or larger than the snowfall itself, and they become really difficult to remove. So even though the snow melts, those things remain. And so I guess I'd throw it out to the group, like, should we preemptively just send a note, like asking the county to kind of keep an eye on this, or to communicate that it's not just sidewalks, it's not just streets, but it's curb cuts and the crosswalks themselves that need to be cleared. Otherwise, you restrict a lot of travel. I mean, one idea for the group is maybe this winter, when we do have one of these storms, is to take photos of stuff that you see. You can share them. I'm sure if I go look at my camera roll, I can find them from years past, but maybe I'll try to remember that for the next meeting here.
Thanks. I have a few that I sent to David last year, the same spot.
Yeah.
I can go back and date them because I think I sent it 2 or 3 times, and even tried to. I know there was open for a period of time some way which wasn't easy to find to report these things, but I don't know that any action was ever taken.
I don't remember in that case either, Eric. I remember you sent them to me and I processed them and sent them on, but I didn't hear back. I don't remember what I heard back.
Yeah, I've got some good photos here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I guess what do we want to do in terms of timing on this? I could try and put together at least a draft letter. Maybe we could add to and maybe have for the January meeting, if that sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, is there a way for us to collect some of these, upload and kind of have a folder of some of these photos if we do have them from years past that show
Yeah, that should be
kind of specifics? David?
It's not, it's a good question, John. It should be possible. It's not something we've done before to have like an online.
Maybe I could just email it to the Google group.
Yeah, that might work. I'm not managing the Google group. I don't even have a official role in the Google group, so wouldn't be me. But I'm wondering, and for example, when Pam writes her minutes, she sends them out as Google Docs. I have to translate them into docs, Word docs, so I can share them and edit them. But it's a good idea. I wonder if there's something on the PAC website where we could have a shared drive space. I should look into that.
Okay.
But there's a great deal of excitement when the trucks are out on the street. I think Arlington's doing a fantastic job with their naming, their mapping. I remember last year watching the 40 trucks go around the map, the snow activity map they've got online. It's not active right now, so I can't see what is available for the key pedestrian network, but perhaps that's something that we work towards, that there's also a transparency on the status of our key pedestrian network, in the same way that they have on the street clearing stuff.
Yeah, I think that really does make sense. And I like that idea because the only thing that we had last year was the ability to report locations that hadn't cleared the sidewalk. And I know the county, I remember watching one of the meetings, the county was intentionally trying to not like giving, several, for example, warnings and, like those over multiple days, and trying not to take any enforcement actions beyond just like providing advice. And like, I don't know if there was a map of that. There might not have been. It might just have been a list. But like, I agree. It's sort of, that's the other side of it, of like, we track where it's clear and then we track where it's not clear. And where are we seeing the issues? And I wonder if on a similar vein, I wonder if there's an opportunity either for us to advocate for Arlington to advertise more of this report a problem and also take more enforcement actions. Because, if folks can't get out do what they need to do, and we've got people essentially, trapped in, in their areas, then, letting places sort of take many days to clear their sidewalk is actually is a very bad outcome. I think it should be a faster turnaround time.
I don't know that snow clearing is in report a problem, or I don't think that there was another location that you had to go to that was stood
Right.
up.
Yeah, exactly. And
That
I think
sounds
they
right.
said that they would take action on it, and they would sort of go to the person's house and I think like provide feedback. That's what I seem to remember. But for example, I think they intentionally didn't provide any fines or, I don't think anywhere. I'm not sure if they actually cleared any sidewalks themselves. I couldn't say.
And I guess one question I have, can the county, at least for some of this, can they get volunteers to help with things, or is there a liability issue for the county?
I don't know. I don't know. There have been times when county staffers have gone out and manually cleared sidewalks, but I don't know about organized crews of volunteers.
Yeah, it'd be something to look into as well. But anyway, why don't we, I'll start drafting a letter, but why don't we, when we meet next month, at least sort of bring any other good practices that you might have with regard to snow clearing.
I think, David, you brought up a good point. There's this campaign to name the snowplows. Like, there could be campaigns about how to properly clear your sidewalk and clear the curb can, to remind people as well. But
Yeah.
in addition to naming the snowplows. Thank you.
Yeah, the curb ramps perennially rise to the top of the list as a problem. The intersections and curb ramps. Name a volunteer crew of curb ramps cleaners or something.
Yeah.
See if you gin up some.
I think part of the problem is like, it's not your sidewalk.
Yeah.
Like, these curb ramps are critical to transportation, but they sort of fall into no man's land. Whose responsibility are they?
Yes.
I think it's the same thing on the overpasses for
Yep.
For overpasses over the highway. Are those bridges owned by the county, or are those like the bridges over 66? Are they all owned by the Highway Commission?
I bet it's a mixed bag. I don't know. For example, Meade Street, there's a bridge at Meade Street near the Iwo Jima Marine Corps Memorial. That's a VDOT structure over a VDOT maintained highway, so it's not county. And there's a plan for future development of Meade Street Bridge, but I think VDOT has downgraded it as a priority, so it's not going to get the treatment it was intended to get some time ago. So we're at their mercy when it's a state facility.
So most of those overpasses, which the sidewalks don't get cleared at all, they're not county property then.
I don't know. There's probably a range of conditions.
Okay, interesting.
I think another problem was, I was saying earlier at the start of the call that, the trails that Arlington owns and maintains are at least the ones that they've identified as sort of the key ones. And I think there's some 20 miles or something that they've identified. So I'm sure there's some trails that they manage but don't clear. But for Mount Vernon Trail is, of course, owned by NPS. That last year, from what I heard, was not cleared at all and became just a lake of ice. So I wonder if there should be some, and I think Mount Vernon Trail in general is maintained by volunteers these days anyway. But I wonder if there's something in our letter that should identify also like more federal land. I know you were just sort of talking about some of the VDOT ones.
Side note, I was out extraordinarily early this morning at 6 o'clock going to a hardware store, and I passed a very large number of runners out in the dark with their Sam Brown vests and reflective gear, but 20 or 30 in small groups. And these are people who, they're running out when it's 25 degrees, so they're going to be running out when there's snow. And these are people who would like to be accommodated, I'm sure.
Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate feedback. Does anybody have any more feedback before we kind of go on to last items here? All right. With that, David, you're up.
Oh, okay. I don't have a lot to report. I'm a little bit embarrassed that I don't know more about the Bicycle Boulevards project that's being administered by my colleague Brian Shelton, who's also the Shared Streets lead. I think I can find out more and come back, but I don't know the play-by-play, how it's going from day to day. A concern for this committee over the last few months has been how to get information about projects as they come up without getting into the weeds of every project, which is not how the committee is being encouraged to act. And Eric wrote a letter to Valerie, my bureau chief, Valerie Mosley, and Wei Wong, the deputy director of DES, last week, I think, asking how to do this. And the word I get is that they're working on something. They're working on a way to get sort of a digest of the opportunities from the community engagement people, rather than, as in the past, from the project managers. This all sounds a little bit inside baseball, because it is, but it makes a lot of sense to me, because the community engagement people are already sitting on the compiled list of what is up, if you will. And the concern has been that sometimes things come up for discussion and feedback and engagement, and then they close in between times of a PAC meeting. And I think the accommodation that's coming down the pike, if you will, is that the pedestrian committee won't be bound by the same cutoff date as individual residents who go to an engagement event and fill out a feedback form, say. So if there's a theoretical 3-week window, say, to find out about a project, learn about it, and provide your feedback, and then you're out of luck, that won't be the case for the pedestrian committee. So I thought that was really good news. That's an accommodation to the reality of this committee with its long-term interest in project level specifics and a capacity for engaging on a lot of things and not being locked out of having their voice heard. So I've been told that there's I don't know if it's a letter or a statement or some sort of directive that's going to be coming out soon. I welcome that. And I think I'll share that if I hear about it before you all do. Arlington's Transportation Future meets tomorrow night. Ambar, you're representing the PAC. This is the diving into the sorting out policies, I believe, and then the feedback on curb space uses. And then we'll look forward to hearing back from you after that. And this may be a little premature, but the ACCS, which has been a bureau in our DOT for a long time, it's been called Arlington County Commuter Services, has gone through a rebranding. And we heard from Eric Balliet a few months ago, who brought in their consultant team who helped in this strategic planning for the Bureau, and they've changed their identity. now being called Transportation Resources for Arlington County. They're a sister bureau for where I work is the transportation planning and project management. So TRAC, they're calling themselves TRAC, will take up those former efforts of TDM and car-free diet and things like that, and they're going to have staff. They're going to have more staff than they've had before. And these are people who run the bike share program and the scooter program and scooter corrals and things that help make life for pedestrians easier, because they've been putting some of those activities in the paved portion of the streets, which clears off the sidewalks. So it's good to see this program. To me, it seems good to see this program maturing to the point that they're getting backing to have FTE staff and not everything done through a contracted staff. I think that's a very good development. And it'll mean more people in our office and closer coordination between our bureau and that bureau. And I think a lot of their activities will remain the same, but they're also rising to the occasion of recognizing how things have changed. There's much less commuting going on than there has been in the past. There's much more work from home. So still providing transportation resources for Arlington County. So a new rebranded bureau is on the horizon. Well, actually, they've already launched that.
Is Mobility Lab still alive? And is that something that's still going to be utilized?
Good question. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Mobility Lab for a long time. They had been a part of ACCS. I don't know what happened. Let me just do a quick check. I've asked the same question myself a few times.
They did some cutting edge things
Yes.
at times.
I'm going to do a quick little search. Still pops up. Research Center for Transportation Demand Management. Well, there's a fellow in my offices who is the TDM lead. His name is Tom Hillman, but he's not Mobility Lab. So I don't know the relationship of Mobility Lab to the county government. I would have to look into this.
Okay. Just curious. Yeah, I mean, among other things, one of the great things that Walk Arlington has done is they do have activities. They also have set up meetings with or activities with Vision Zero and have done some really good things to kind of share, the toolbox that Vision Zero has among other things. So.
I'm going to add one more thing, if I might. This a little bit extracurricular. There's a Arlington resident named Peter Harnick. I think a number of you folks might know Peter. He's a longtime county resident. He's one of the founders of the Rails to Trails Conservancy, and quite a scholar as well. He's written a book about Rails to Trails, and they produced a film from Rails to Trails, I think. And I went to the premiere of it a couple of months ago. Well, Peter contacted me the other day. He wants to do research into the effectiveness of federal funding for things like bicycle facilities. I think he's also going to have pedestrians in his sites. So I put him together with one of my colleagues who's really conversant with federal grants and the history thereof. And I hope to see something come out of that. But Peter's a first-rate guy, and it's great to see him from his Arlington focus looking into the black box of funding, because it's really kind of mystical almost how things get funded and brought to fruition. Long terms, and money comes from different pots, and the pots change their names from time to time, and federal legislation changes their name, and then the money gets commingled with local funds. It's a real puzzle. I don't know how deeply he's going to try to dive into it, but I think he's a good guy to take a stab at it. So I think that's enough for me for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe I saw Peter Harnick's documentary or the one that he helped produce. It was on PBS, and I think
Yeah.
you can get it. You can watch it off the PBS website. So
Excuse
it's
me.
really very good. Um, so I just wanted to know. I don't know if I mentioned it, but so Pam. I won't go into a lot of details, but she's had an operation recently and she's recovering, and I have gotten at least some updates from her husband that she is recovering. So just wanted to let folks know about that. Sounds like little improvements daily, because
Yes.
it was just about a week ago that she had an operation. So, I guess other things that I have here. I think we'll approve the minutes next time. I don't think we have enough folks here right now to
I think that's
actually.
right.
I don't think we have a majority to approve the minutes, so we'll do it next time. I did look at the minutes. There was only a small correction, but I think I'll mention that, I guess, at another time. There was just one word I think that was missing in one of her bulleted statements, but let's see if I can find it. I had it open, and I don't know that I see it. But oh yeah, here, let me just note for a moment. So the draft minutes, there was one statement that just said, need to emphasize the entire sidewalk needs, well, I guess there's a bullet that says, need to emphasize the entire sidewalk needs to be completed, not the major corridors. I think she probably was trying to say sidewalk network. So yeah. I think that was the only thing. And then there's an extra bullet at the bottom, but otherwise these are very comprehensive and good notes. So I can only strive to try and make something half as good for the next meeting, but we'll do that for the next meeting. The other thing I want to mention is leadership elections. I would like to consider maybe next month or the month after to elect a new chair. I've been the acting chair since our other chair, or Lizzie Gallagher, stepped down. I think it's been about 2 years, maybe longer. So I would like to give other people opportunities. This is my second time around being the chair here, and I was the chair of the Bicycle Advisory Committee for at least 7 or 8 years. So I think I don't want to hog being a chair. So I'd like to share that with other folks who might be interested. So let's keep that in mind. We'll see about having it next. It will either be January or February. Let's see if based on where things are at, we'll have elections for a new chair and a new vice chair. And let's see here. Any other county transportation updates? I don't have anything else at this point. Does anybody have any other events or things they want to share before we conclude?
One minor thing. So I got I don't know if this was I got a letter, what seemed like it was from the Parks group, that was a survey, sort of like a public input thing. It sort of seemed to indicate that it was a randomly selected survey. Maybe I'll just sort of careful of scams and stuff, but it seemed fairly comprehensive, so I'm assuming it's legitimate. But maybe I'll send an email around with the URL, and maybe I don't know, David, you could help just like validate that it's real, and then if so, it seemed like it is open to other people to provide input. It had a number of pedestrian and accessibility questions in there. There's probably like 200 questions in there. So,
Wow.
or you know, basic questions. It was more like rankings, like, you know, how accessible do you find this? Is this an issue? That kind of thing. So anyway, I don't know if anyone else got a similar survey
What-
letter.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's part of the open
PSMP.
space, public space master plan
Update.
update.
Could be.
I remember someone mentioning a survey, but I hadn't heard much more about it. I'll look into it and come back with a note to folks. Yeah.
Cool. Same, I can start a thread with the link and whatnot as
Perfect.
well.
All right. Anything else? Oh, I do have one more thing that I looks like Eric Malpelli may have stepped off. I just want to say he did a really good job of the review for the STAR study. Lots of good points. He drafted a letter for me to the county manager. I'm going to take that and add in a few additional items that relate to our um, walking meeting that we had in June, and because I think I guess they relate to the area of the study almost perfectly. So I think I will add a few additional points, and then I will send that around probably between now and next meeting for folks for approval. We'll try to get approval on that. So that's something I'll try and do in next couple of weeks. So with that, I don't have anything else to add. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Ambar as well for the good work that he's doing on the committees that he's been covering. So as well. And John, thank you for attending the Lecky Gardens the other day.
Sure thing.
All right. And with that, we can adjourn early. Not a big business meeting, but I think we covered a lot of good areas. So
Yes.
appreciate everybody's time.
Thank
Right.
you.
I will close out the recording. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Take care.